I'm 5008 Creations, and you are the viewer. And today, we will be looking over how I became the railfan I am today. This video is kind of short, but it is a fitting 1000 subscriber special. So, without further ado, let's get started. In reality, almost my entire life I've always been interested in trains. I don't necessarily know what it is about them, I just always have had some sort of interest about them. But this never really culminated into any form of actual watching the physical trains in real life at first. It was mainly just cartoon shows and the occasional driving somewhere and seeing the trolley going around. However, this would all change when I eventually got a hold of this little neat thing called YouTube. Turns out that on a platform where people can express all kinds of interests, trains was not hard to find, and goddamn did I find them. Because I didn't necessarily have a YouTube account, there wasn't too many things that I would reoccurringly watch. Of course, I would always watch the usual Coaster and Amtrak because, I'm a San Diego resident, but occasionally I'd watch videos from the Northeast Corridor, the Midwest, and sometimes even other countries. I was just in general enjoying the life watching some trains on YouTube. But at this point, it was about time for me to actually ride one of these trains. After all, because they're passenger trains, or those were the ones I was always interested in, that's kind of their whole purpose. So, eventually, my mom took me on a coaster trip to Carlsbad Village Station, oddly enough, and, well, my face here pretty much says everything. After this, it was pretty obvious my interest in trains continued to grow. I actually started finding some YouTubers I would consistently watch. Two examples being Spencer Hughes and CoasterFan2105, both of which covered trains in the general San Diego area, but also other places. However, my first general interest in trains pretty much peaked in around 2014. As in 2015, well, my interest in trains started to die out a bit. It was most likely because, in general, I just wasn't really actually doing anything. I did get a few model trains that, well, because of how early on I got those model trains, let's just say I may have destroyed a few things that genuinely nowadays would be over $300. But we're not going to talk about that part. But after a few final trips that would have some trains involved in them in around 2015-ish, I pretty much lost all interest by 2017. I would still keep some interest in the community. For example, I did keep in touch with what was going on with locomotive replacements, and did in fact know about how the F59 PHI locomotives were being replaced by the Siemens SC44 Charger locomotives. I was very aware of that, mainly because I would always see the train tracks every single day when I was being driven home from school. So I remember specifically one time seeing a Charger test train go by for a Pacific Surfliner and thinking, oh, the new locomotives, and then continued to move on with my day. My main interests at this point were pretty much just games and, in 2018-2019, roller coasters. However, then a little bit of a big whoopsie-daisies happened in 2020, so my hobby of roller coasters had to be put on hold for a bit, and I was already starting to lose interest in games, and that interest in games still has yet to come back. However, because trains are a form of transportation, that means that they had to come back pretty damn soon during the pandemic. So, that meant railfanning opportunities were a thing. And with me actually deciding to look into doing this whole YouTube channel thing, I decided, why not go ahead and actually film the trains for once, instead of just sitting at home watching them. I decided that the best place to go would be Oceanside Transit Center. But don't worry guys, this was Oceanside Transit Center before the Quiet Zone, so it was just a little bit more okay than it is currently. So after being driven to a transit center served by a train that I could easily access, don't ask what I was doing back then, okay? I shot my first ever train on video, my first ever train on video shot by me, and it was a Sprinter. So we're not going to count that one. In reality, my first ever heavy rail train I shot on video was a southbound coaster led by NCTC, or at the time SDNX 2301. Wow, what a Great beginning. However, after this, I caught my first ever Amtrak Surfliner being led by, of all cab cars, 6907. My god, I was just the king of all of the cab cars that were so okay or above okay. But after this day went by, I was pretty sold on this whole rail fanning thing. It was actually a pretty fun activity to get to record the actual trains that I had always watched on YouTube or ridden all these years. So at some point, I came back about 3 or so months later. Yeah, I wasn't too consistent on this, unlike how I am now. For me, rail fanning was more of an activity like going to a park was for me, where you just kind of go there for about 3 hours, do some stuff, and then you leave. I wasn't too sold on it being the full day activity that it actually was. Eventually, in October of 2020, I took my first ever major trip via train. Was it for rail fanning? No, but it was just going to Santa Barbara. And we would stay there for about a day and then come back home on 774, with us going up on 785. However, because it was not meant for rail fanning, I only recorded 2 trains here. One of 785 leaving, where I got jump scared by 2114. And then the other one was 774 arriving, where I unintentionally caught something really rare known as 6952 quilling. After this Santa Barbara trip, then came the replacement of all of Coaster's F40PH locomotives with SC44 Charger locomotives. I was quick enough to jump on this and railfanned Old Town in around February of 2021 to catch these new locomotives, where I may have accidentally almost caught someone getting hit by a coaster, but, you know, we don't have to talk about that part. But at this point, I had also started a YouTube channel for rail fanning. At the time, it was known as 800 Rail Productions. Where I got 800 from? Well, simple, Metrolink 800. Why Metrolink 800, even though I literally did not live in Metrolink territory? In fact, I lived the opposite side of the county from where Metrolink ran? Well, because I thought, what is a cool locomotive that is specific to SoCal that, like, you can't get anywhere else? And I thought, well, Metrolink 800. So there you go. Now, I say a rail fanning channel, but in reality, this channel mainly consisted of train crash documentaries and random funny memes I decided to make. One of these funny memes ended up getting, and I'm not kidding here, 420,000 views. It was a 30-second long video that I'm not going to make any of you watch because I cringe every single time I watch it. So, yeah, all I'm going to say is this thing should not have gotten that many views. But because of how many views this video got, it also gained me a whole lot of subscribers, leading to me reaching 1,000 subscribers by June of that year. For context, I basically started the channel in January of that year, 2021. So, even though most of the views and subscribers came from that one specific video, I was getting some pretty good viewership on some of my other videos, and this motivated me to continue making videos for this channel. However, because of some bad decisions that I made with the channel that, again, would take way too long to go over in this video, I ended up just straight up killing the channel in late 2021. And continued my focus on roller coaster channels with what was at the time known as Coaster Critic Ray, which I would then rename to Ray the Coaster Critic in January of 2022. What also happened in early 2022 was me bringing back 800 Rail Productions, but as a small brand account. This account actually did get some relatively good viewership, but because I didn't really like having 2 channels at once both needing attention, I killed the thing again. And as you can tell, I definitely took a whole lot of note of that. So for most of 2022, I was just not a rail fanner entirely. Like, I barely even kept up in the community, so I missed a lot of major stuff that happened in 2022. Mainly because I had a roller coaster channel to upkeep, and I had some other things going on, all needing my attention. However, this would all change in September of 2022, when I decided that it was about time for me to start getting back into Train Simulator mods. And I uploaded my first ever video on a brand new channel that, because of me focusing on Train Simulator mods and other things, I decided not to go for Rail Productions and instead decided to go for a name of Creations, which led to 800 creations being created. And this is where you can genuinely start seeing some early remnants of me today, with a lot of these train simulator mod videos still being up on YouTube to this day, and you can find them if you just go to oldest on my channel. Most of these train simulator mod videos were some mods I was making for a so-called SoCal repaint pack, which did release, but I planned on making a few other versions of it, which I still really need to get around to. But then, on December 22nd, 2022, I would take my first ever trip to this little place called Carlsbad Village Station. I was always a fan of this station. Or, not really a fan, just more of, I always liked the fact that there were high-speed surfliners that went through there, and the fact that I'd only been there once, I thought was a bit weird. But I just always decided to go to Oceanside because it had all 3 major SoCal services, so I decided to just go ahead and go to Carlsbad Village anyway, and well, this was a pretty good decision on my part. I caught my first 2 high-speed surfliners and got some true footage of some coasters, still without a tripod though. And after I would take yet another trip to Fullerton, because I forgot to mention the fact that I had been going to Fullerton sometimes because I had made a few railfanning friends at that point, and they had all just wanted me to go to Fullerton, so I did it again the day afterwards. And after that Fullerton trip was over, I took my first ever trip to Sorrento Valley. Sorrento Valley was close by my school, so I decided to do it after school one day, and well, this was a pretty good decision on my part. I got to catch my first few coasters. Because of San Clemente being closed, I didn't catch any Amtraks. And in general, it was a pretty good clip. I then went to Sorrento Valley again later that month, as well as Carlsbad early in February, then going to Fullerton again in mid-February, and then in March, I didn't really do much rail fanning. However, in late March of 2023, I took a trip to Carlsbad and met some people who would eventually turn me into the gung-ho railfanner I became. My true railfanning career really began on April 1st of 2023, where I took my first ever full-day trip to Carlsbad, leading me to getting some nice horn shows, getting to know some more people, and in general, it still holds the title as my favorite railfanning day. And at that point, I was pretty much going railfanning as much as I possibly could. It was something about just getting to know that there were a bunch of other people, learning about how much railfanning really was a full-day activity, and in general just getting to know everything about the area I was in that just led me to love this hobby. And you could find me out on the tracks pretty much 5 times a week. There were so many days after school where I would just hop on a coaster and go to Carlsbad Village or Encinitas or something like that and just film a few trains and go back home. And it was for certain that every single weekend I would be out at Carlsbad. There was no doubt about it. And sometimes even on Sundays, days that I usually wouldn't go railfanning on, I would still go out to Carlsbad or somewhere else like that just to railfan. This would all eventually lead me into June of 2023, where we're just going to skip past the fact that because of an East Coast trip I was on, I may or may not have missed an absolutely insane horn spam from 6903 on June 24th, 2023 on Amtrak train 1777, but we're going to pretend that one didn't happen, and skip to a day later, June 25th, where a very certain new charger for Coaster was testing. And it just so happened a cool engineer would get it. What charger, you ask? Well, I feel like it's pretty obvious what it is. It was the charger that this channel owes its current namesake to, NCTC 5008. There was just something about 5008's horn that I absolutely loved. Was it the beefiness of the horn created by it having a weird low tone to it? Was it the fact that it was just really in tune? I have no idea. All I know is I absolutely love this thing. I loved it so much that I decided, because I inevitably was going to rename my channel from 800 anyway, because 800 was a locomotive I'd inevitably never see, I decided I would rename my channel to 5008 Creations. After I renamed my channel to 5008 Creations, I just continued to go insane with railfanning. It was mainly because I just really wanted to get a horn show like that 6903 horn spam. I'm not even going to hide that fact that that was just driving me this whole time. But I also in general just started getting a bit more into photography and started searching for some cooler spots around San Diego County, because I'm going to be perfectly honest, at this point, Carlsbad Village was getting really old and I needed something new that I could still easily access. So I tried out pretty much everywhere. I tried out Sorrento, I tried out Solana, I tried out Encinitas, I tried out Old Town, which inevitably ended up sticking because Old Town was really close to me, and I tried out a bunch of other places. So I started getting some pretty nice variety of San Diego clips in summer 2023. And jumping past September of 2023, because nothing really interesting happened there, October 2023 was where my last major milestone for rail fanning happened, where I got my first ever actual rail fanning camera. Essentially, this whole time I had been using my phone on a tripod because, that was pretty standard and I had a phone, so I think it was pretty obvious what to do there. But, phones aren't really as good as cameras, so I started looking for a camera of my own. I had no clue what camera to get, and I just heard people talking about DSLR, so I searched up DSLR camera and ordered a Canon EOS 250D. What I didn't realize is DSLR cameras are meant for picture taking, not video taking, so I may have accidentally gotten a picture taking camera for mainly video stuff. Yeah, just shush. I know I did something a bit silly, just shut your face. And this leads us to today. I have a pretty nice rail fanning channel with over 1,000 subscribers, which is the whole reason why I'm making this video, and I have some pretty cool rail fanning trips planned for the future, a few being Ventura, the Pacific Northwest, and NorCal. So, with that all being said, I was 5008 Creations, you were the viewer, and I'll see you in the future. Goodbye.